Did you know that Denali, formerly known as Mount McKinley, rises 20,310 feet above sea level, making it the tallest mountain in North America? But more remarkably, it has the highest vertical rise of any mountain on Earth when measured from base to summit. That the mountain's summit temperature has been recorded at minus 75 degrees Fahrenheit, with wind chill reaching minus 118 degrees Fahrenheit, making it colder than the summit of Mount Everest. And that this 6 million acre park contains grizzly bears, wolves, caribou, and Dall sheep living in one of the planet's last intact subarctic ecosystems, where the entire food chain remains undisturbed by human development. Denali is not just a mountain, it is a landscape of extremes where geology, climate, and wilderness converge to create conditions found nowhere else in North America. Get ready, because today you're about to discover 35 incredible facts about Denali that will blow your mind. Facts that reveal why this Alaskan wilderness stands alone among the world's great mountain ranges. 35. The tallest mountain base to summit. Denali rises 18,000 feet from its base to its summit, a vertical gain greater than Mount Everest measured from its base on the Tibetan Plateau at 12,000 feet. This makes Denali's uninterrupted rise the most dramatic vertical relief of any mountain on Earth. When climbers stand at Kahiltna Glacier Base Camp at 7,200 feet and look up at the summit 13,000 feet above, they're seeing a vertical wall of rock and ice that exceeds the entire height of most mountain ranges. By comparison, Mount Rainier rises 13,000 feet from base to summit, and the Grand Tetons rise approximately 7,000 feet. Denali's massive base to summit measurement means climbers experience more physiological stress and altitude gain than on any other mountain, despite Everest being 8,700 feet taller in absolute elevation. 34, the coldest mountain on the planet. Despite being lower than Everest or K2, Denali generates its own weather systems due to its high latitude. At 63 degrees north, closer to the Arctic Circle than any other major peak. Summit temperatures regularly drop to minus 75 degrees Fahrenheit, and wind chill factors have been measured at minus 118 degrees Fahrenheit, colder than any recorded temperature on Everest's summit. Research by the National Park Service shows that Denali's combination of high latitude, isolation, and massive vertical relief creates a microclimate where the mountain intercepts moisture-laden air masses from the Pacific, generating violent storms with winds exceeding 150 miles per hour. When I spoke with climbers who've summited both Everest and Denali, they universally described Denali as colder and more brutal despite the elevation difference. 33. The still growing mountain. Denali is still rising at approximately 1 millimeter per year due to ongoing tectonic uplift where the Pacific plate subducts beneath the North American plate. GPS measurements by the U.S. Geological Survey confirm the mountain has risen measurably since the first climbers summited in 1913. Over the past century, Denali has grown approximately 4 inches taller. This tectonic activity also makes the region seismically volatile. The 2002 Denali earthquake registered magnitude 7.9, one of the largest ever recorded in North America, and caused the summit to shift horizontally by several inches. The mountain you climb today is literally not the same mountain climbers encountered 100 years ago. 32. The name restoration after 100 years. The mountain was officially renamed from Mount McKinley back to its original Koyukon-Athabascan name, Denali, meaning the Great One, in 2015 after a century-long controversy. The name McKinley was imposed in 1896 by a gold prospector who wanted to honor presidential candidate William McKinley. Despite McKinley never visiting Alaska and having no connection to the mountain, the Koyukon people had called the peak Denali for thousands of years. Alaska officially adopted the name Denali in 1975, but federal recognition took another 40 years due to political opposition from Ohio, McKinley's home state. The restoration represents a rare victory for indigenous place names in American geography. 31. The Wickersham Wall's vertical mile. The Wickersham Wall on Denali's north face rises 14,000 feet in approximately 3 horizontal miles, creating an average slope exceeding 50 degrees and one of the longest continuous vertical faces in the world. This wall drops from the summit at 20,310 feet to the Peters Glacier at 6,000 feet in one unbroken sweep of rock, ice, and hanging glaciers. The face sees fewer than 10 climbing attempts per decade due to avalanche danger, technical difficulty, and the impossibility of rescue if something goes wrong. The wall represents over 2.5 vertical miles of exposed climbing, nearly twice the height of El Capitan in Yosemite. 30. The one road through 6 million acres. Denali National Park contains only one road, the 92-mile Denali Park Road, and private vehicles are prohibited beyond mile 15. This means 99% of the park's 6 million acres remain accessible only by foot, with no trails, no cell service, and no development. The park is larger than the state of New Hampshire, 9,350 square miles, yet visitors can drive only 15 miles into it with their own vehicles. Beyond that point, access requires park shuttle buses or special permits. This restriction, implemented in 1972, preserves wilderness character and protects wildlife from vehicle disturbance. Most national parks are crisscrossed with roads. Denali deliberately isn't. 29. The grizzly bear density paradox. Denali contains one of the highest densities of grizzly bears in Alaska, with an estimated 300 to 350 bears in the park's front country area accessible by the park road. Yet these bears have one of the lowest reproductive rates in North America, females producing cubs only once every 4 years due to harsh subarctic climate and limited food availability. Research by park biologists shows that Denali grizzlies weigh 30 to 40% less than coastal brown bears, the same species, who have access to salmon. Interior grizzlies subsist primarily on berries, roots, ground squirrels, and occasional caribou calves, a diet that produces smaller bears with slower reproduction but higher population density due to vast undisturbed habitat. 28. The caribou's 400-mile migration. The Denali caribou herd completes an annual migration circuit of over 400 miles between calving grounds north of the Alaska Range, Summer Range in Denali, and winter territory in the lowlands, representing one of the longest terrestrial mammal migrations in North America. GPS collar data collected by Alaska Department of Fish and Game shows individual caribou traveling circular routes exceeding 3,000 miles annually when daily movements are totaled. The herd, numbering approximately 2,000 animals, follows migration patterns largely unchanged for thousands of years, moving to avoid insects, access forage, and find snow-free calving areas. This migration continues without human interference because the park preserves the entire migration corridor. 27. The wolf research legacy. Denali is home to the longest continuous wolf study in the world, begun in 1939 by biologist Adolf Murray. His pioneering research on the East Fork wolf pack provided over 80 years of data on wolf pack dynamics, predator-prey relationships, and wolf behavior that fundamentally shaped modern wildlife management. Current research continues tracking 10 to 12 wolf packs within the park, using radio collars and direct observation. Murray's work proved that wolves regulate prey populations without exterminating them, a revolutionary finding in the 1940s when wolves were still being systematically poisoned in the lower 48. Denali wolves live as they have for millennia, their behavior undistorted by human persecution. 26. The Dall sheep's vertical world. Dall sheep, the only wild white sheep in the world, live exclusively on Denali's steep mountain slopes above 4,000 feet, navigating cliffs and scree fields where their white coloration provides camouflage against snow. Research shows some individuals never descend below the alpine zone their entire lives, living and dying on nearly vertical terrain. The park contains approximately 2,000 Dall sheep, with rams sporting horns that grow continuously throughout their lives, eventually forming full curls weighing up to 30 pounds. Their specialized hooves have hard outer edges and soft, grippy inner pads, natural climbing shoes allowing them to traverse rock faces at 60-degree angles where predators cannot follow. 25. The permafrost foundation. Approximately 95% of Denali National Park sits atop continuous permafrost, permanently frozen ground extending 300 plus feet deep in places. This frozen substrate controls hydrology, vegetation patterns, and landscape stability, but climate monitoring shows permafrost temperatures have increased by 2 to 3 degrees Fahrenheit since 2000, causing widespread thawing. Visible evidence Includes drunken forests, where trees tilt at crazy angles as ground subsides, thermokarst ponds forming from collapsed ground, and road sections requiring constant repair as the foundation thaws. The park road has 30-plus locations where permafrost degradation threatens structural integrity, requiring millions in annual maintenance. 24. The taiga-tundra transition. Denali contains the ecological transition between boreal forest, taiga, and Arctic tundra. This transition occurs at approximately 2,700 feet elevation, where spruce forest ends abruptly, replaced by treeless tundra extending to mountain peaks. This vertical compression creates a landscape where you can hike from dense forest into Arctic conditions in 1 to 2 hours. The transition represents what occurs over 1,000 plus miles of latitude elsewhere, compressed into 2,000 feet of elevation. Climate change is causing this tree line to advance upslope at approximately 50 feet per decade, converting tundra to forest and fundamentally altering a ecosystem structure. 23. The 1913 first ascent mystery. The first confirmed summit of Denali occurred on June 7, 1913 by Hudson Stuck's expedition via the South Summit, but controversy remains over the 1910 sourdough expedition's claim to have summited the slightly lower North Peak. Their claim was dismissed for decades until a 1913 telescope sighting from Fairbanks confirmed their planted 14-foot spruce pole was indeed visible at the North Summit, 19,470 feet elevation. These miners, carrying no technical climbing equipment, made a round-trip summit bid from 11,000 feet to 19,470 feet and back in 18 hours, a feat considered impossible until the flagpole proved they'd done it. 22. The climbers' 50% success rate. Only about 50% of climbers who attempt Denali successfully reach the summit, with the remaining half turning back due to altitude sickness, extreme weather, frostbite, or exhaustion. This represents a lower success rate than Mount Everest, approximately 60%, despite Denali being 8,700 feet shorter. National Park Service statistics show that of approximately 1,200 climbers attempting Denali annually, only 600 to 700 summit. The primary causes of failure are weather, 35% of turnarounds, altitude sickness, 30%, and exhaustion/cold injuries, 25%. The mountain's extreme cold and violent weather create conditions that elevation alone doesn't predict. 21. The High Altitude Rescue Challenge. Denali sees approximately 10 to 15 major rescue operations annually, but extreme cold and weather make helicopter rescues above 14,000 feet nearly impossible. This requires the National Park Service to maintain high-altitude rescue rangers who climb to perform evacuations by hand. Rangers stationed at 14,200-foot camp throughout the climbing season, May to July, can access patients at high camps, but evacuations often require multi-day carries down the mountain in storms where helicopters cannot fly. The park's helicopter limit is approximately 10,000 feet in summer. Conditions 4,000 feet lower than base camp altitude, making Denali one of the most challenging rescue environments in North America. 20. The Kahiltna Glacier Highway. The most popular route, the West Buttress, follows the Kahiltna Glacier for 16 miles, a massive river of ice over 2 miles wide in places and up to 3,000 feet deep. This glacier flows at approximately 3 feet per day at its center, creating constantly shifting crevasse fields that change annually. The glacier contains enough ice to cover Rhode Island 10 feet deep. Climbers fly to 7,200-foot base camp on the glacier via ski-equipped aircraft, then spend 2 to 3 weeks ascending through camps at 7,800, 11,000, 14,200, and 17,200 feet before attempting the summit. The glacier serves as both highway and hazard, the route to the summit and the source of deadly crevasse falls. 19. The Bradford Washburn Legacy. Pioneering photographer Bradford Washburn made the first ascent of Denali's West Buttress route in 1951 and created definitive topographic maps using aerial photography at 1 to 50,000 scale. His maps, published in 1960, revealed geographic features never before documented and are so accurate they're still used by climbers today. Washburn's photographs from the 1930s to 1960s now serve as baseline data for glacier retreat studies. By comparing his images to modern photos, scientists have documented glacial retreat of 100 plus feet per year at lower elevations. His work transformed Denali from an unknown Alaskan peak to one of the world's most photographed mountains. 18. The base camp waste problem. Until 2007, climbers deposited human waste directly into glacial crevasses, but research showed waste was not not being permanently buried. It was traveling down glacier and emerging decades later. The National Park Service now requires all climbers to carry clean mountain cans, CMCs, cylindrical containers to pack out waste. This results in approximately 6 tons of human waste being removed from the mountain annually. Base camp at 7,200 feet includes a ranger station with a crevasse designated for CMC dumping, where waste eventually flows off the glacier. The policy has dramatically improved sanitation and reduced disease transmission on the mountain. 17. The Polychrome Pass Rainbow. Polychrome Pass, located at mile 46 on the Park Road at 3,700 feet elevation, displays volcanic rock layers in brilliant reds, oranges, yellows, purples, and greens created by different mineral oxidation states. These rocks, part of the Cantwell Formation deposited 70 million years ago, contain iron and other minerals that oxidized in different chemical environments, creating a natural rainbow visible for miles. The colors are most vivid in sunlight after rain when rocks are wet. This geological feature represents ancient volcanic activity predating the Alaska Range's formation and provides a window into the region's violent tectonic past. 16. The Wonder Lake Reflection. Wonder Lake, located 85 miles into the park at the end of the accessible road, provides the most iconic reflection view of Denali when weather permits. The lake sits at 2,090 feet elevation and is 33 miles from the summit, creating a sightline that captures the mountain's full 18,000 foot rise from base to peak. But the mountain is visible from this location only about 30% of the time due to persistent cloud cover generated by the peak itself. Park statistics show that visitors have better than 50% odds of seeing Denali in June, but less than 25% odds in July to August when moisture and clouds increase. 15. The Savage River Crossing. The Savage River at mile 15 marks the boundary between developed area and wilderness backcountry. This glacially fed river can rise 3 to 4 feet in hours during warm days as snow and ice melt accelerate on slopes above. Flow rates measured by USGS gauges show the river can increase from 200 cubic feet per second in morning to 800 CFS by evening, a 400% increase. Backpackers attempting to ford the river can become trapped on the wrong side when flows rise, creating dangerous situations requiring rescue. The river demonstrates how rapidly conditions change in a glacial landscape responding to temperature fluctuations. 14. The Ailson Visitor Center's 66-mile view. Ailson Visitor Center at mile 66 and 3,733 feet elevation provides the closest road-accessible view of Denali at only 33 miles from the summit. This facility operates only from early June to mid-September due to the short subarctic summer. Visitors must take park shuttle buses to reach it as private vehicles are prohibited beyond mile 15. On clear days, interpretive rangers provide telescope views of climbers on upper mountain routes, visible as tiny specks at 14,000 plus feet. The center receives approximately 200,000 visitors annually, but fewer than 30% actually see the mountain due to cloud cover. 13. The Midnight Sun Phenomenon. During summer solstice, June 21st, Denali experiences nearly 24 hours of daylight with the sun, dipping below the horizon for less than 2 hours. This creates extended daylight, allowing wildlife viewing at midnight and confuses visitors' circadian rhythms. Conversely, winter solstice, December 21st, brings only 4 hours of daylight. This extreme seasonal variation in light occurs because Denali sits at 63 degrees north latitude, only 400 miles south of the Arctic Circle. The midnight sun enables climbing expeditions to travel and climb during night hours when snow is firmer and allows researchers to conduct 24-hour wildlife observations during summer field seasons. 12. The moose's subarctic adaptation. Moose in Denali are the largest in Alaska, with adult bulls weighing up to 1,600 pounds and standing 7 feet tall at the shoulder. Their massive body size represents an adaptation to conserve heat. Larger bodies have lower surface area to volume ratios, reducing heat loss in subarctic climate. Bulls grow antlers spanning up to 6 feet that they shed annually, requiring calcium and phosphorus, intake equivalent to their skeleton. Moose browse on willows, consuming up to 60 pounds of vegetation daily in summer to build fat reserves for winter when food availability plummets. Radio collar data shows some individuals remain within 5 square mile territories their entire lives, while others migrate 50 plus miles seasonally. 11. The sled dog kennel tradition. Denali is the only national park in the United States that still uses sled dogs as working members of ranger staff, maintaining a kennel of 30+ Alaskan Huskies who patrol the park in winter. These dogs haul supplies to remote ranger cabins, conduct wildlife surveys in areas inaccessible by other means, and maintain winter trails. Each dog team travels hundreds of miles annually, and the program has operated continuously since 1922, predating the park's establishment in 1917 as Mount McKinley National Park. The sled dog demonstrations at park headquarters are among the most popular visitor programs, attracting 50,000+ visitors annually. 10. The Ruth Glacier's vertical relief. The Ruth Glacier, flowing from Denali's south face, drops 3,800 feet between the summit of Mount Dickey, 9,545 feet, and the glacier floor at 5,700 feet, creating the Ruth Gorge, one of the deepest vertical relief canyons in North America. The gorge walls rise 5,000+ feet on both sides, and the glacier itself is over 3,900 feet deep in places, meaning bedrock lies 2,000+ feet below sea level despite being in the heart of Alaska. Few visitors ever see this feature as it requires fixed-wing aircraft access. The gorge demonstrates the immense erosive power of glaciers carving through the Alaska Range. 9. The Tectonics River Campground Minimum. Tectonics River Campground at mile 29 requires a minimum 3-night stay and allows private vehicle access beyond the Savage River boundary, the only exception to the private vehicle ban. This unique regulation encourages longer stays and reduces traffic, but creates logistical challenges for visitors. The campground contains only 53 sites, and reservations fill months in advance. The 3-night minimum was implemented in 1986 after studies showed day visitors driving into the park created wildlife disturbance and traffic congestion inconsistent with wilderness values. Visitors complying with the stay requirement gain privileged vehicle access deep into the park. 8. The park's radio-collared wildlife. Denali maintains one of the most extensive wildlife monitoring programs in the national park system, with over 100 animals wearing GPS radio collars at any given time. Current collars track grizzly bears, 30+ collared, wolves, 40+ collared across multiple packs, caribou, 25+ collared, and moose, 15+ collared. Data downloads occur via satellite providing real-time location information showing animal movements, territory sizes, den locations, and migration patterns. This 40+ year dataset represents one of the longest continuous wildlife monitoring efforts globally, providing insights into how intact predator-prey systems function without human interference. 7. The 2002 Denali Earthquake. The November 3, 2002 Denali earthquake, magnitude 7.9, was one of the largest ever recorded in North America. The quake triggered massive avalanches on Denali's flanks, visible from 100+ miles away, and caused the summit to shift horizontally by several inches. The Denali Fault, which runs beneath the mountain, ruptured for 209 miles, one of the longest surface ruptures ever documented. Despite the magnitude, the earthquake caused minimal damage due to Alaska's low population density, but demonstrated the mountain's location in one of Earth's most seismically active zones. Climbers on the mountain during the quake reported violent shaking and ice avalanches cascading from upper slopes. 6. The changing glacial mass. Research using repeat aerial photography shows Denali's glaciers have collectively lost approximately 10% of their ice mass since the 1950s. Lower elevation. Glaciers like the Muldrow Glacier are retreating at rates up to 100 feet per year. The Peters Glacier has thinned by over 300 feet at its terminus since 1950. This retreat fundamentally alters the mountain's hydrology, changes climbing routes as crevasse patterns shift, and reduces water storage in glacial ice. Climate projections suggest glaciers below 8,000 feet could disappear entirely by 2100, leaving only high-altitude ice fields. 5. The climate change velocity. Climate models predict that by 2100, Denali's climate will warm by 6 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit, causing treeline to advance upslope by 500 to 800 feet, converting current tundra to forest. Permafrost thawing will destabilize infrastructure including the park road, requiring hundreds of millions in repairs. The mountain may become more dangerous to climb due to increased rockfall from melting ice holding cliffs together. Wildlife distributions will shift, moose expanding into current caribou range, shrub growth increasing across tundra. These Changes will fundamentally transform ecosystems that have existed in current form for 10,000 plus years since the last ice age ended. 4. The air taxi access debate. Over 1,000 mountaineering expeditions fly to base camp on the Kahiltna Glacier annually via air taxi, the only practical access to the mountain. But this creates tension between wilderness preservation ideals and the reality that Denali's extreme remoteness makes human-powered access nearly impossible. Base camp sits 43 miles from the nearest road across heavily crevassed glaciers. Walking in would require technical glacier travel, weeks of time, and hundreds of pounds of supplies. The air taxi operation, based in Taketna, generates economic benefits but introduces aircraft noise into wilderness. The park struggles with balancing access and preservation in extreme terrain. 3. The permanent winter summit. The summit of Denali experiences winter conditions year-round with no summer season. Even in July, temperatures remain below freezing, and the summit is scoured by 100 plus miles per hour winds. Weather data collected by summit sensors shows the warmest recorded summit temperature is approximately minus 15 degrees Fahrenheit. The summit exists in a state of perpetual winter that never ends. Glacial ice, hurricane-force winds, and life-threatening cold regardless of season. This makes Denali's Peak one of the most hostile environments on Earth, despite relatively moderate elevation. The mountain generates its own weather, creating conditions more severe than latitude or elevation alone would predict. 2. The wilderness beyond the mountain. While Denali, the mountain dominates attention, the 6 million acre park contains vast wilderness that most visitors never see. The park is larger than the state of Massachusetts and contains entire mountain ranges beyond the Alaska Range, the Kantishna Hills, Outer Range, and Tectonics River drainage that receive virtually no visitation. Over 95% of the park has no trails, requiring navigation by map. Encompass across trackless tundra through braided river crossings and over mountain passes. This represents some of the largest roadless wilderness in North America, where grizzlies, wolves, and caribou live completely undisturbed by human presence. 1. The mountain that creates weather. We've reached the end of our journey, and here's the paradigm-shifting conclusion. Denali doesn't just experience weather, it creates weather. The mountain's massive vertical relief intercepts moisture-laden air masses from the Pacific Ocean 150 miles south, forcing air upward where it cools, condenses, and generates storms. Meteorological research shows Denali generates its own lenticular cloud cap visible from hundreds of miles away, creates 100 plus miles per hour katabatic winds flowing down glaciers, and produces microclimate conditions colder than the Arctic despite being at temperate latitude. The mountain is so large it affects regional weather patterns, creates precipitation gradients across the Alaska Range, and generates conditions that make it the coldest and stormiest mountain relative to its elevation on Earth. Denali isn't just a mountain in Alaska, it's a weather factory, a climate generator, and a force of nature that shapes the environment for hundreds of miles in all directions. After discovering these 35 incredible facts about Denali, tell us which one blew your mind the most or completely changed your understanding of North America's tallest peak. Leave it in the comments. Let's see which fact resonates with the most people. And if you know an incredible Denali fact we missed, or have your own discovery to share from visiting the park, we'd love to hear from you. Your insights make these videos richer for everyone. There's another national park video on screen right now, so you can keep exploring America's most extreme wilderness landscapes. But before you go, subscribe and hit the like button so we can continue revealing the hidden stories behind these natural wonders. See you in the next one.